Okay, we are live if you want to go ahead and get started. Richie?
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the new Revere High School Community Forum. Before we get started, I am going to explain the translation instructions and ask each of our translators, Juan, Danya, and Kathleen, to reiterate this in our 3 languages that we're translating tonight. So if you require translation, you're going to hit in the lower right-hand corner, there's going to be a globe. After our translators finish up, please click on the globe and select the language in which you would like to hear this presentation. If you want Spanish, select Spanish. If you want Portuguese, select Portuguese. And if you want Arabic, you must select French, but you will hear it in Arabic. So now I'm going to pause and ask Juan to repeat those instructions in Spanish.
Hola, buenas noches. Bienvenidos a la reunión de la comunidad para el Colegio Revere. A continuación van a ver un globo en la esquina inferior derecha de su pantalla con distintas opciones para seleccionar el lenguaje en el cual quieren oír la presentación el día de hoy. Si quieren oír la presentación en español, seleccionen español. Si quieren oírla en portugués, seleccionen portugués. Y si quieren oírla en árabe, seleccionen francés. Muchas gracias y bienvenidos a la presentación.
Thank you, Juan. And I am going to turn it over to Danya to give those instructions in Arabic.
مساء الخير جميعا، شكرا لحضوركم الاجتماع اليوم. إن أحببتم السماع لهذا الاجتماع باللغة العربية نرجو الضغط على الأيقونة في أسفل الشاشة على شكل الكرة الأرضية. للاستماع للغة العربية يجب الضغط على اللغة الفرنسية. سأتكلم بالعربية ولكن هذه هي الأيقونة المحددة لذلك. شكرا.
Thank you, Danya. And last but not least, I'm going to turn it over to Kathleen to give those instructions in Portuguese.
Olá, boa noite a todos. Meu nome é Caitlin. Eu sou a tradutora de português hoje para a reunião da comunidade de Revere. Se você precisa de informações em português, só selecionar o círculo na canto direito da sua tela, vai estar escrito português. Se você quiser espanhol, vai estar escrito Spanish para você selecionar em espanhol. E se você quiser in Arabic, você tem que selecionar francês, mas a reunião vai ser in Arabic. Muito obrigada.
All right. Thank you to Juan, Kathleen, and Danya for providing this important service for us tonight. At this time, we're going to turn on translation. Translation is now available. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Bob Bell from Perkins Eastman.
Great. Thank you, Richie. Diane, are you able to pull up the presentation?
I wasn't able to get the one from Dawn, but I have Brian's from earlier today. Is that the right version?
That'll do.
Okay, I'm going to pull up that one. Okay. Are you seeing that now?
Yes. Great. So we'll go right to the agenda. Good evening, everyone. My name is Robert Bell. I'm from Perkins Eastman. I'm part of the architectural team. We have a number of us on hand to present and answer questions. I'm also joined by Brian Dakin and his team from Left Field. They are the owner's project managers. So tonight we're just going to go over an overview of the MSBA feasibility study that we're at the point of completion, getting close. We want to explain and review the timeline that we are under overall with the project. And we'll go into the educational vision and program and goals that were established early in the project, the summary of options that we've studied to date, which are now down to 3. And those 3 options we'll show you in some detail. You'll see the floor plans and the massing. And then we'll also give you a summary and a time frame for those preferred options, what it will take to build them, and relative costs, as well as the overall the look ahead on what the next steps are to come. Next. So where this is our 4th community meeting, we have presented the process before. I'm going to be fairly brief in my overview, but we welcome questions to follow if you would like us, or if anyone would like us to return and explain the process or any of these aspects that we've reviewed before. We'd be happy to do that in Q&A. Big picture, the City of Revere has partnered with the Massachusetts School Building Authority. The Massachusetts School Building Authority funds projects across the state, and they do school projects through a penny of the sales tax that we all pay in the Commonwealth. The MSBA establishes the process that we go through, including assembling the team, which includes Perkins Eastman as the architect and Left Field as the owner's project manager. They also establish the guidelines and the standards and the overall process that we're going through. Next.
Sorry, my machine is doing too many things at once. There you go. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. A zoom in at the process and where we are right now. There are 3 major submissions for the state. The first 2 are the feasibility study, where we do the bulk of explorations, establish goals, and develop options. We're nearing the end of these 2 first steps, which is the feasibility study, and it concludes with the selection of one preferred option. The next step would be schematic design. As the preferred option is selected, we would then develop that and design it fully and put a budget to it so that it can be taken to a full vote by the City of Revere. Next.
Sorry.
So in establishing the process, the MSBA also has a formula for creating the school building committee. These are the 11 positions and people that make up your school building committee. Next. It also is important through the MSBA process that there is a very robust engagement and outreach. We've had over 80 meetings total for this project. The majority of those have been open to the public. And again, this is our 4th community-specific presentation. Next. What I just showed you in blue represents the first 1.5 years of what will be 3 years when the project is designed, developed, and going through approvals. After the first 3 years, the project would then go into construction, and depending on whether it's renovation or new construction, would take an additional 2 to 3 years. So the whole process itself is 5 to 8 years. Next. To speak a little bit about the educational vision and the goals that were established, there are some highlights here on the left that show what those major objectives were with the school building. And on the right is what we call a bubble diagram that shows the organizational concept for the new high school. Next. So Heart of the School being the first, and also providing community and extended use of the facilities. This is a rendering that shows what the heart of the school might look like. This is the cafeteria commons, and you can see it connects to some of the major programs like the auditorium and gymnasium, but also includes community health and a number of services readily accessible to the community. And the hope is that this would help facilitate an extended day and an extended community learning. Next. Another important goal and aspect is to create flexible and agile classrooms and full use of the school. So even corridors are used as part of the education, where clusters of rooms can connect and have independent learning space out in the hallways. Next. The concept is also envisioned to connect to the landscape so that there is indoor-out learning and connections. Here we're showing health and wellness programs into the landscape, as well as community gardens. Even the auditorium stage can open to an outdoor amphitheater to create a very enriched environment and a true campus feeling. Next. The building is intended to be a sustainable green school. It's required by the state, but the focus is really on connecting these qualities to improved learning and health and well-being. Of course, that includes daylight, thermal comfort, acoustics, and air quality, and those connections to nature that we've been talking about. Next. I'll turn it over to Brian, who will give us a high-level overview of the schedule and some of the options that we've looked at.
Thank you, Bob. My name is Brian Dakin. I work for Left Field. We are the city's owner's project manager for this project. What's on the screen right now is a summary of the various options the building committee has studied to date and mostly systematically eliminated from consideration. A number of sites other than the main sites, the existing site, the Wonderland site, and the Revere Housing Authority site were looked at. And as I noted, systematically eliminated. We're down to 3 options, technically 4 options, but 2 different options on the existing site where the high school is now. Neither of those options that are remaining include any taking of residential property. There is no eminent domain associated with the options that are left on the existing site. And we have 1 option at Wonderland that we're still looking at. So we feel the process has looked everywhere. We've turned over every stone of where this building could go. And we are here to go through a little more detail on the options that are left on the existing site and Wonderland. Next.
I'll take over from here. Hello, everyone. I am Dawn Guariello, and I am one of the architects with Perkins Eastman. As Brian mentioned, we have the 2 sites that are still under consideration, Aracola Park, adjacent to the existing Revere High School, and Wonderland, which you can see highlighted in this plan. Next, please. We'll start with the all-new building on the Aracola Park option. It's shown in white, the footprint of the building. It would be built over the existing fields at Aracola. Thank you, Diane, for highlighting that. While that's under construction, those fields would not be able to be used. But once that building is complete, you can see the red dashed line. That's the existing building. Once complete with the new construction, the existing building would be demolished, and those Aracola Park fields plus tennis courts would be replaced. The one obstacle, besides a lot of complexity of this existing site, as most are aware, there's a culvert that currently dissects the, thank you, Diane, she's showing that with her hand, dissects the site, and that culvert would need to be diverted and moved, replaced in order to fit the new building. Next, please. I will highlight some of the building components, but this is in the 100-year floodplain. Therefore, we would need to raise the building, and in both sites, it would be somewhere between 7 feet and 10 feet. Therefore, we took the opportunity to provide underground parking. This shows that floor plan. Next, please. This is the first floor plan. You can see the heart of the school highlighted in the middle that Bob spoke about, the CAF Commons, the auditorium and administration, music suite. The lower level of the athletic health and fitness would be the locker rooms. And then to the north, there are the academic wings that are actually 4 stories tall and are basically duplicate as we move up. I will note the central admin to the north would be standalone building on the corner of the site to the northwest. Next, please. Here you can see the upper level, that heart of the school is multi-story. So plenty of connections to many spaces throughout the building. The gymnasium is at the 2nd level and connects The upper level balcony of the auditorium connects over through that heart of the school. There's tech and art that connect through, and then of course the academic wings, as well as a 9th grade cafeteria bookending that heart of the school. Next, please. The media commons, again, connections through that heart of the school at the 3rd floor level, directly adjacent to those upper levels of the academic wings. And the gym volume is kind of something you can see down into from those upper spaces. That's a tall space. So nothing is above the gymnasium. Next, please. And this is the 4th story, which is just the academic wings on the north. Next, please. This is the roof plan, and then thank you. This is what the massing of the building on the site would look like. Is there a second one? Perfect. Thank you, Diane. So the red arrow indicates the main entry into that heart of the school that we spoke about, and you can see the 4-story academics kind of to the left on the north side. Okay. Brian, were you going to speak to the schedule?
Yes. What's on the screen here is a schedule associated with this option. This is the all new construction on the existing site option. It's a lot of info. It's a long project. I think the important takeaways for the community are really to focus on that long green bar a little bit down the page. That long green bar is construction. As Dawn noted, there's a culvert to be moved on this site. So we anticipate with this option starting to work in spring, summer 2023 to get that culvert out of the way. And the school will be under construction from summer 2023 until it's ready for students to move in summer 2026. With this option, since we need to replace the fields where the current building exists, we need to knock down the existing building. That phase will take from about summer 2026 when the new building is occupied through the following summer in 2027. So that's the point where both new fields and new building will be open by summer 2027 in this option.
So the next option, also on the Aracola Park, would look at new construction, but keeping the existing field house. The reason for, thank you, the reason for doing that is because it is larger than what would otherwise be allowed under the state program. It's probably not so ideal in that it displaces a field. There's a field to the far east, thank you, the multipurpose, and then a field to the far west, the baseball. They're not adjacent to each other. And there's also an outdoor connection that would need to be made, thank you, from the new construction over to the gut renovation, which basically means that we would take it down to the main structure and rebuild the enclosure and put an addition on for central admin as well as locker rooms. Next, please. This is the floor plan that shows the main level of the spaces. Again, as I mentioned, the disconnection from the gym, it just forces students to have to go outside to get to it. Brian, would you like to speak to the schedule?
Sure. The schedule for this option is pretty similar to the other option. The only real difference is that at the end of the project, after the new high school opens in 2026, it would take until the end of 2027 to have that field house renovated and to have all the fields in pathways surrounding it complete. So pretty much the same schedule as the other option. It'll just go a little longer into 2027.
Thank you, Brian. So moving on to the second site, the all new construction on the Wonderland site. The goal here would be to minimize the amount of site that is needed. We're looking at just under 20 acres. The access from here aligns with the MBTA train station, thank you, and also the light down at the south side of the Wonderland exit. And also pedestrian crossings would be needed to gain access to this site. The floor plan next, please, Diane. It has all the same amenities. There's a baseball field, multi-purpose field, and 5 tennis courts. And this will look really similar to the plan I just walked you through on the existing. There's underground parking, the heart of the school. Thank you, Diane. You can go here. Yep, the main floor has that heart of the school that we spoke about. The only change here is that the auditorium is rotated to allow for a more friendly main entry from the east where the parking is on this particular site. So thank you, with that exception of the rotated auditorium, it's pretty much duplicate to the floor plan from Aracola Park. So if you want to move up through them briefly, Diane, yep, we've got the multi-story heart of the school. All this upper floor program is identical, both on the second floor, third floor with the media commons, and then the 4th floor academic as well. And here's the roof plan, and you could move on to the massing. So the building's also flipped. So instead of the academic being on the north side, like it was on the Aracola, it fits better on this site with the 4-story academic to the south. I think that's all. Brian, does you want to run through the schedule? Great, thanks.
Sure. The Wonderland schedule is, again, very similar. I noted all of these schedules have the same move-in date for a new facility, summer 2026. However, being that this site would not need to be phased into as many small actions, we can just basically get to Wonderland, put a fence around it, and build. The construction portion of it does not need to start in 2023. We have the construction starting once we can get into the ground in 2024 to get to that same 2026 move-in date. And the other thing to keep in mind with this schedule is that 2026 move-in date, all the fields that are associated with the new school at Wonderland would be installed and done. There is no demolition phase of the existing high school. That's one of the keys that the building committee had us look at with Wonderland. It allows the city to retain the existing high school for future use as a middle school. Next slide, please. So I wanted to just give a quick explanation of Wonderland. As a lot of folks might know, the site is not owned by the city. It would take an eminent domain process to basically purchase the land from the private owners. The land that's down at Wonderland is divided into many parcels. About 24.5 acres, which shown in the green dashed area is.
I'm laughing because I said just under 20, so apologies. I was thinking
fine.
of the Aracola size.
We'd get to this. We are attempting to make that 24.5 acre footprint that this project would need here as small as possible to maximize what's left. So right now there's about 9.5 acres on the north side of the site that would be left to the current owners for potential private development. We're just showing this as it's one of the unique pieces of building at Wonderland is the city does have to go about a process to acquire this land, but we are not looking to acquire all of it. Next slide. So what's on the screen now is a lot of numbers. When I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation that there are technically 4 options, I want to explain that now. The left column labeled BR, base repair option, is required by the state for the project to study, and it is simply an estimate to bring the current building up to all the current building and accessibility codes. That totals $181.6 million and projects to a state grant of $76.8 million, leaving a total cost to Revere for $104 million. It's important to keep in mind with this base repair option that it's not an extension. You would only be able to renovate the space that's there. And what we've learned from this process and what the folks in the school have known for a long time is that there is not enough space at that school. There are not adequate science labs and other features to support education. So this option has to be on the table. We don't have drawings for it. The other 3 columns equate to the 3 options. 1CB on the left of the 3 is the all new construction at the existing site. It totals $394 million with a projected grant from the state at $163 million, leaving $231 million as the proposed total cost to Revere. In the middle column, 1AB, that is the option to renovate the field house and build a new school at the existing site. It's about the same, just over $394 million total cost, slightly larger projected MSBA grant at $171 million for a total cost to Revere of $223.2 million. On the right is the Wonderland option, $378 million. It's a little bit less as for a construction estimate here because there's less to move around on that site. We don't have to move that culvert that Don and I talked about earlier, among a few other premiums based on what's underground at that site. The projected MSBA grant is a little lower than the others, $154 million. That's mainly because there isn't reimbursement to knock down the existing building. This option does not need the existing building knocked down. So the building total to Revere, $224.2 million. We are carrying down below there a $23 million land acquisition cost. That's based on an appraisal, apologies, that the project had done. If Wonderland is the option we're moving forward with, that number will be vetted and ultimately determined through a legal process of exactly what that number is. For now, $23 million for land acquisition brings the Wonderland total to $247 million. Next slide. This is a summary of the schedules, just a graphic summary. As I noted before, the middle line, move into new facility, summer 2026. That's probably the most important one for the community to understand. It's the same for all options. Next slide. What's on the screen now is a summary of both challenges and advantages of each site. I think if we went through the folks on the project team, we could all come up with different challenges and advantages for each site. Probably the highest level summary is both options, 1C, B, and 1AB, which occur on the existing site, would not render the existing school able to be used in the future as a middle school. That's probably their biggest shortfall. The Wonderland option would. As I noted earlier, it'll be a simpler construction process because there is nothing there. We don't have to work around the existing school. We don't have to work around as many neighbors and abutters. But it does have the largest price tag and is a little bit of a change for where the high school has been. So this is just a sampling of positive and negative attributes for all of these options. And again, I think if we were to talk to 10 people, they'd probably have 10 different positive and negatives, but we tried to be objective with this summary. Next slide. Thank you. So this is the last slide we have for you folks tonight. I know it's a lot of text, but it's a summary of the decision-making steps that are happening. We have brought a version of this presentation through many building committee meetings. Those are public meetings. Folks are welcome to follow them. We have gone and visited the school committee on December 21st. We have gone to the city council this week on the 10th. Tonight, we are running this presentation through for input from the community. And tomorrow, the building committee will be having a meeting to make a recommendation on which option they would like to select to move forward into schematic design. We will then revisit the school committee on January 18th and the city council on January 24th to reiterate that decision, to get buy-in for that decision. And we are targeting March 2nd as the date to submit this large report summarizing everything we've shown you in the last 16, 18 months of work by the building committee to the state. On March 2nd, their board of directors would then be able to approve that on May 4th. That action would bring us into schematic design, and schematic design will continue to happen through these building committee meetings. There will be information and updates published. We have a website where all the information is going to go, but depending on the option, the team will swoop into action on various items that need to happen for each of these. For Wonderland, it's namely figuring out exactly what it will take to acquire that site. And for the existing site, it's dotting the i's and crossing the t's for moving that Ericola Park from one side of the existing site to the other through the process. That is basically the summary for tonight. And I think we wanted to, I think we're either kicking it back to Richie to go through questions.
Sure,
Sorry,
thank you.
Yep.
No, that's okay. Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. All right, at this time, we're going to open up the question and answer. If you are putting your question on the YouTube chat, I will see it and certainly present it to the panel. You can also, if you are watching on the Zoom, you can put it in the chat for us to answer as well.
And while we're waiting for some questions to come in, I'll just add that and remind everybody that this is feasibility study. So there's plenty more design to occur. We know the site, the building shape, a number of things will evolve, the circulation, certainly traffic will inform the solution. So there's more to come.
So we had one participant on YouTube ask if the slides for this presentation would be made available. I'm sure we can do that after this presentation.
They will be posted on the new building website, which is linked through the Revere K-12 website.
All right, I'm not seeing any questions. Dr. Kelly, are you seeing any?
I am not. But I will just briefly share my screen again and show folks who are watching. If I can figure out how to do this, let me just say, yeah, let me close this for 1 second. I just want to show folks how they can access all of this information on our website. So let me open this. All right, and I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Richie, let me know if my clicking through doesn't work here. So this is the homepage of the Revere Public Schools website. And you can find this from any internet browser at reverek12.org. And if you scroll down from here, you'll see one of our main pages is the Revere High School Building Project. So I'm going to click that link, I hope. And everything that you want to know about the building project is located on this website. And our friends from Left Field and Perkins Eastman regularly give new information to share. We have a space where people can submit questions or ideas. If they have any feedback that they want to give us that they weren't able to give during this presentation. Documents are listed here, our agendas and committee meeting reports. Everything should be right here. Even the submissions that we make to the MSBA are all posted here for people to review. So anybody's welcome to visit that website at any time when they have a few extra minutes and want to review what's been going on with all of this committee work. And I don't see any questions here. I don't know if there's, do you want to give one more check on the YouTube?
I have one question. It says, is the MGH clinic going to be available after construction?
One of the things that we are planning to include in the design of the new building is a new community wellness center that would include the piece of the health clinic from MGH, but also additional access to wellness programs like yoga, and even some physical wellness programs like weight training and I can't think of the word, cardiovascular. We are hoping to have a kind of building where in the evenings, the whole community can access the resources that our students are using during the day. And so that the new high school will become more of a community hub. So that is part of the plan, is to include a space for the MGH clinic, as well as access to those other pieces that I talked about. I don't know if Bob or Brian want to add to that at all.
That was a pretty good summary. That heart of the school becomes really important because that's going to connect to all kinds of maker, lab space, classrooms in these same programs that the community would utilize.
We also had a question about current enrollment and what is the enrollment that the new high school will be built for. So right now we have about 2,030 students in our current high school. I didn't know if someone could speak to the capacity of the new building.
Do you want me to do that, or did you want to, Diane?
I'll jump in and you can correct me if I get anything wrong. So MSBA is very specific about their programming and allowing for particular student enrollments. And so they do an actuarial study of our existing enrollment. They include information about the community growth, the population in the community over the last decade, and use all of that information to do their projection. And what they have projected for Revere High School with an anticipated 2026-2027 opening is 2,450 students. So that's what we're allowed to build for. And I don't know, Bob, if you want to add to that at all.
No, not much to add. We do look for making the building flexible and adaptable and give it a little elbow room so that it can transform and handle increases up or down or other changes in the future.
All right, that is all the questions on YouTube. I do not see any on the Q&A for the Zoom at this time.
All right, I will wrap us up by just saying thank you very much to our partners. Thank you, Dawn and Brian and Bob and everybody else from Left Field and Perkins Eastman. And to the community, we'll certainly be having more meetings like this as we progress through the project. And thank you all for taking the time to be here tonight.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.